Good day, everyone. You're welcome back to another episode of Awakening Voices for Action and Innovation of Mobilization Towards Leadership for Women and Youth Development Initiative, MOLDEV. Today, we'll be talking about education. On the 5th of October every year, it's commemorated as the International Day for Teachers. This year's theme is Recasting Teaching as a Collaborative Profession. With me here in the studio is?
My name is David Adewale John.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Today in the society, we know we have teachers. I, for one, am a trained teacher, and we know how the system has been. But why Teachers' Day?
Okay, Teachers' Day is a very important day, and the day is usually marked for majorly two reasons. One, to honor teachers, and two, to promote education in Nigeria. As we all know, teachers in Nigeria are being bedeviled by a lot of challenges, cutting across almost all the sectors, including both the teachers in the government, secondary schools, teachers in the private sector, and teachers in the private sectors as well.
All right. So, are teachers really valued for their work?
Okay, that's a very good question. In this part of the world, I will say no. Reason being that there are a lot of challenges that teachers in Nigeria do encounter. Chief among them is low funding. Teachers, both in the private sectors and even those working with government, are not adequately funded. So this has posed a lot of challenges to teachers. Another problem, if I would like to put it that way, is infrastructure. And you visit most of schools in Nigeria, you find dilapidated structures. So learners or students are found in structures that are not well accommodating. So this too has contributed to the poor educational background in Nigeria. We also have insecurity. Insecurity as at today, when you go to the northeast, talking about states like Bauchi, Maiduguri, Yobe, Adama, and Borno states precisely, you hardly find learners learning under conducive environments. The environment there has been bedeviled with a lot banditry, insecurity, which is usually called, we popularly call it Boko Haram. So it makes learning difficult, and you find teachers unable to even settle down to be able to deliver what they have put together to teach these learners.
Well, I can relate with what you're saying because MOLDEV has established a community school in Shani local government of Borno State, where the school had been abandoned for over 30 years, and children growing, no education, no form of education apart from the home training they get and from the religious institutions in that community. For the first enrollment, we had about 195 students, pupils, in just the primary arm. These kids were left there without any form of formal education. And the structure that was there is without a roof. So what they do, they align their sitting arrangement to the position of the sun. If there's a casting of shadow, they move to where the shadow is, pending when we would be able to raise money to roof the school, or if we can get any form of assistance to do that. But we've been in talks with the local government, and we're hoping that something tangible will come out of it. And moving forward, from all arms of governance and educational system, where is this disconnect? Where are we missing it?
Okay, I will still go back to low funding. For example, if you look at the 2025 budget, what was budgeted for education was slightly above 7%. Precisely, it was 7.3%. This is far below the 26% that was proposed by UNESCO. So if you look at it, low funding is actually a major challenge. To add to it, curriculum review. Just of the recent, you are a teacher and you are conversant with the news, you understand that the government, that's the Minister of Education, came up with a lot of changes. And the question some of us are asking is, before you make such changes, there should be modalities on ground in order to help cushion some of these effects. You introduce new subjects without no scheme, no curriculum, and you say it should take effect immediately. As I'm talking to you right now, most schools, including my schools, are stranded. So we don't know exactly what to do. And students in the certificate classes, that are students in SS3 and GSS3. So, we felt this thing shouldn't affect them. Reason being that they've been taught, education actually is holistic. So they've been taught, they started from somewhere and they are getting somewhere. So you don't just introduce a new curriculum for students that are about leaving the school. What happens to what they've learned previously? For example, history is a very important subject because every nation, every child, every learner should know where it's coming from. So history, for example, has been made compulsory. And if you're asking a learner in SS3, for example, to take history, how do you expect that learner? How do you expect that learner to do well in the West African Examination Council? That's
just trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, or vice versa.
Actually.
So that's actually, in my perspective, a recipe for disaster. Because where do they start from? The WAEC exams covers SS1, 2, and 3.
Good.
So where is the content for 1 and 2 if they are to study 3? Would there be concession or how? So how can we correct all these challenges?
Okay, usually as it is often been said, once you are able to know or discover the problem of the thing, what is causing the problem, you should be able to proffer solution to that problem.
Sorry, before you even move forward, let me ask this question. What accounts for the mass exodus of teachers from the profession?
Good. Chief among them still boils back to low funding. Let me give you an example. Switzerland, for example, the annual salary of a teacher, that's minimum wage, for a teacher in Swiss is around $80,000 to $100,000. I was doing the calculation this morning. $80,000, a dollar is around 1,005, if I'm not mistaken. If you divide 80,000 by 12, it's roughly around $7,000. 7,000 by 12 will give you 10.5 million per month. So if you're a teacher in Nigeria and you're opportune to travel to Switzerland, won't you go? You are taking 10.5 million per month. So that's why you find teachers trying to, so low funding is chief among many others. Then teachers are overburdened in Nigeria. Teachers are overburdened, they are overworked. The infrastructure is not there, there's no adequate funding, their salaries are low and it's not paid as at when due. So these are just few among many other things that are making teachers to leave. Apart from Switzerland, country like Luxembourg, they pay their teachers very well too. Their minimum wage is around $70-something thousand per annum, which is around plus or minus 6 point something thousand dollars per month in Nigeria. Multiply that again with our exchange rate, which is around 1,500, you'll be left with close to 10 million naira per month. An average teacher in Nigeria, for Plateau State, a graduate teacher goes home with 102,000 naira in a month. Divided by 1,500 naira, that is $68.
They are very much at par.
Yeah.
So that is really a huge challenge.
Actually.
No wonder everybody wants to run and be a politician.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, only those that would be let me use the term unemployable, meaning that they don't meet up with criteria elsewhere, they just fall back to teaching as a last resort, because the value isn't there for them to really compete for the position of a capable teacher. And also, I think the treatment from the school management, especially in private schools, and also the treatment of parents to teachers, where moral decadence is exemplified by the parents before children. I remember how rampant it was on news, where parents will go to the school and beat up a teacher. The first line of moral training for a child is the parent from the home. The next line is the teacher. So if you bastardize the image of the teacher before the student, what's left? That's why I remember seeing videos of students fighting their teachers in school. So with that kind of disregard, won't a teacher run away?
A teacher will actually want to run away if once the opportunity arises. So there are teachers in Nigeria are actually, they are not being treated at par with their colleagues in other climes. You know, in this part of the world, the teaching profession is one of the professions that is actually is being looked down on. And this is a profession that gives birth to any other profession you can think of. If there's no teacher, you can't have a medical doctor. If there's no teacher, you can't have an engineer. If there's no teacher, you can't have a lawyer. So, but countries that knows what they are doing, so they prioritize teachers. I mentioned Luxembourg, I mentioned Switzerland, Canada is there, America is there, and even Austria. These countries are doing well. But when you come down home, in this part of the world, teachers are one of, in fact, the teaching profession is one of the professions that has been looked down on. Just like you mentioned, it's like a last resort to many graduates.
So if the teaching profession in Plateau State, as you mentioned earlier, goes for 102,000 per month, if we divide that by the days, that means a mason earns more than a teacher.
That's very correct.
A bricklayer earns more. So if that is supposed to be the foundation of any individual in personal development, intellectual development, that means we're brewing a recipe for disaster.
That's very true.
Because a building without a solid foundation is liable to fall. Maybe that's what accounts for the apathy of school attendance by children going for mining, bricklaying, menial jobs,
to make quick money,
because they don't see a good reflection of education from their teachers. Wow. So how can these be corrected?
Okay, first of all, I think the government of the day will need to prioritize education. And how can this be achieved? Schools at all levels, primary school, secondary school, and tertiary education should be well funded. At least we should try to meet up with the demand of the UNESCO, which is 26%. 7%, 2025 it was 7.3%. That's very poor. That's one. Then insecurity. Insecurity should be taken care of. We made mention of states, most of the states in the northeast, Borno State, for example. students or even the teachers cannot go to school comfortably and learn with one mind because they are scared. They don't know what will happen next. Then teachers should be appreciated. You know, there's this saying that a teacher's reward is in heaven. So teachers should be appreciated. Teachers should be appreciated both in cash and in kind. You know, it will serve as a motivation. When a teacher is well appreciated, it will boost the morale of the teacher, and the teacher will want to give in his or put in his best. Today, in most of, I don't know whether you've observed that at the primary level, that's at the basic level of education, when you go to government schools, it's almost non-existent. You find parents today, an average Nigerian parent takes his child to a private school. But when you go to UK, it's not like that.
It's a competition to get into government school. Is when you lose out of a slot in a government school that you fall back to a private school.
That's in other developed climes, right?
In developed crime.
But you see, in Nigeria, reverse is the case, because in fact, if you are taking your child as a parent, as an average Nigerian parent, if you are taking your child to any government school, it's like child abuse somehow. But that should not be the case. That's because those public schools are underfunded. So there are schools in Nigeria, when you go to the villages, hinterlands, that learners are even sitting on the ground to learn. You made mention under trees, like in the case of Borno and the likes.
But domesticating that idea back home, don't you think if we go to places where they have experienced insecurity on the plateau, for example, Riom, Barikin Ladi, Bokos, Mangu, Basa, I think those have been the cases, because in the last assessment we had in partnership with Peace Practitioners Network in Plateau, that was majority the result we found, because the structure might be there, but the system is not really functioning, and the fear of the unknown, everybody is not willing to go back to their homes because of the uncertainty.
So insecurity is actually a major problem. It's actually a major problem. So the government needs to be on their toes to fix insecurity. Once the issue of insecurity has been taken care of, then I think any other thing can come into place. Because even if there's adequate funding and insecurity is still a challenge, you know, it will be very difficult for the problem to correct the problem. So insecurity is actually a challenge.
All right. So aside from insecurity, bordering on the fact of poor funding, the teachers need retraining.
That's true.
And capacity building to be able to meet up with international standards. Because if we're still struggling with chalk and blackboard, like in the case where we saw in Bauchi, where the governor produced mass cartons of chalk and exercise books, yeah, that's a giant stride, because some don't even care. But I think effort should be made from our executive arm of government to the legislative to ensure that all these challenges are closed, because in a society where education does not reign or is not prioritized, that means room is given to any form of criminality. People fall back to anything they find as a means of livelihood. So I want to encourage the government, proprietors of schools, and UBEC to ensure that all these checks are put in place. Have the teacher trained. Let's appreciate our teachers, because without them, our society wouldn't really grow. Thank you, Mr. David, for coming on this segment. And we hope that all teachers will be appreciated. It will start from us here at Molders. Happy Teachers Day to you all. Thank you.